turning to the AI story, um, you know, the greatest techno optimists will talk about how AI is going to deliver double digit earnings growth over the course of the next 10 years as a function of incremental investment, increased productivity, and margin expansion by companies. And the reality is that just the investment and just the increased productivity, even if you pencil in incredibly good productivity, like a 2% support to productivity, has a very modest impact on earnings because, a lot of that, margins are only 14% or 13%. So, if you get increased productivity and it goes to equally to labor and capital, it's not that big a deal. It helps your top line, but that's about it. The real thing that the techno optimists in the AI world are talking about is massive margin expansion. And for instance, to get to mid double-digit earnings growth over the next 10 years, you would have to have margins expand by 1% every year for the next 10 years.
And why would they, right? Yeah.
And the challenge with that that the techno optimists can't answer is if you get more productivity, if you get better margins, what that means is you're firing people relative to your top line. And if you fire the people, who is spending the money? The only way that margins expand is if you have someone else, some other sector to savings. And so in order to get anything close to what those folks are expecting, you'd have to have a different sector of the economy start to save at a rate that's something like 6 or 7% of GDP every single year forever to support those margins. Are we going to have government budget deficits that are 7% of GDP bigger forever in order to support those margins? Are households going to save 7% of GDP a year? Like, the math doesn't work. And this is exactly the same problem that happened in the tech bubble back in 2000. Is people were penciling out the same sort of outcomes and didn't recognize that the implausibility of having that productivity boom that isn't met with rising incomes, and that's basically set expectations that were implausible that then collapsed.
So is that what people are missing in this? That even though we have companies that are profitable, and that's one difference between today and the 2000 bubble, the growth just isn't where the market has priced them in.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is whether or not, I think, taking a step back, technological innovation is very, very hard to fully understand the magnitude of technological innovation. And the idea, essentially what people are saying is that this is going to have an effect that's equivalent to the personal computer. I'd say, my base case would be that that's probably not true. But it could possibly happen. But I think the thing that people really miss is the cash flows, because like the laws of physics, cash flows are the constraint to corporate income, right? Corporate income is not it's not a theoretical thing. It's built of cash flows, both in terms of revenue and spending. And if you can't connect, you have to connect that optimism to cash flows to get the outcomes that are being described. And that's the thing that doesn't connect well. And I have talked to plenty of techno optimists, and I've gotten none of them have given me an answer to the question of, if you fire all the people to get those margins, who is going to pay for the top line growth?